it's hard for me to be like team Justin or team Blake because I can't take away the way that somebody felt. The question I guess I have is like, is it a misunderstanding in communication or is it sexual harassment? And I think depending on who you ask, you would get a different answer. Hello, and welcome into another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, bringing down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. How are we? Cold, frigid, frozen in time. Hell hath frozen over where I am here in Cleveland, Ohio. 6 degrees outside today. Feels like -5. Okay, how on earth am I supposed to survive under such conditions? -5 degrees? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Haven't left the house in 3 days. I've already told you guys about the bed sore problem because I'm a work from home girly. You know, I have like 3 locations that I switched to: this office chair, my couch, and my bed. So the fact that it's -5 degrees outside, I have bed sores. Oh, you know what I just remembered? Listen to this. My dad is in Florida right now. My mom locked herself out of the house on the coldest day of the year, okay? No spare keys. She locked her phone in the house. She locked her car keys in the house on the coldest day of the year. I am writing this episode out. I get a call from a number that I do not know. We're not answering numbers that we don't know, right? It's 2025. So then I get a text message that says, Morg, ... it's your mother, ... call me from this random number that I do not have stored in my phone. I immediately text my brother-in-law. I'm like, this is a scam, right? Because we don't trust anybody anymore. First of all, I'm like, my mom, God bless her, cannot send one text without at least 3 typos. So the fact that it all came in clean as a whistle, I'm like, this is not my mom. This is not my mom. She did like the little ... I'm like, that's not my mom. That's a robot trying to steal all my personal information. So this number is calling me nonstop. I'm ignoring it because I think they're about to steal my social security number. Meanwhile, it's my mom, you know, moments away from hypothermia because she locked her keys in the house and her phone in the house. She went to the neighbor's house and was calling me from the neighbor's phone. That's been my day in a nutshell. And my dad's not there. He's in Florida, so he can't come help her. My sister and brother-in-law were doing something. Dave, you guys, this is how I know Dave is a real one. They were calling all kinds of locksmiths. Nobody was answering the phone because you can't find good help these days either. They called 7 places. 2 of them answered and said, we'll call you back, and they never did. What's up with that? What's up with that? So Dave goes out in his new beater of a pickup truck that he bought on Saturday. We traded my car in, and he got a 2010 Ford Ranger that he's just ecstatic about. And I'm like, you know what? It's your car. Do it. Get whatever you want. I don't care. So he's like, I'm going to save the day in Rusty Ranger. That's what we named the car. So he's driving down the road, trying to break into my mom's house with a airline's credit card because he doesn't care if that gets destroyed because we didn't use it. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is today? What is this life? But he did it. He didn't use a credit card. That didn't end up working. He used like a paint, not a paint brush, but you know, like those, I don't know what it is. I'm not a painter. He got in, okay? He saved the day. My hero. David. Anyways, let's get into the pop 3. Because my life wasn't dramatic enough this morning. Let me just tell you that when I was writing this episode, I love you guys. I love MPT. I love the discussion that comes around with all these pop culture stories. This episode was dreadful to write. It was dreadful to write 7 pages of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, of Tyler and Ashley from Love is Blind splitting, Justin Bieber allegedly getting hacked, Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell, and the implosion of the Real Housewives of New York. I mean, buckle up, baby. If you need a little boost of serotonin, now would be the time to do so because we're about to go into the trenches of it. And we got to start with Justin and Blake, which we're all there. We're all there where we short circuit every time we see a headline come up about Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively, right? Like literally I open my phone and it's like, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively. And I'm like literally my brain feels like it's going to combust because of all the back and forth that they're doing to us purposefully, okay? Well, the big news this week was that Wayfair Studios released this 10-minute unedited footage from It Ends With Us. This footage is at the center of Blake Lively's sexual harassment claim, right? The statement read that they released to the press. It says, Miss Lively's complaint alleges that during a scene, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming for a slow dance montage. Mr. Baldoni was behaving inappropriately. The following videos captured on May 23rd, 2023 clearly refute Miss Lively's characterization of his behavior. The scene in question was designed to show the two characters falling in love and longing to be close to one another. Both actors are clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism. These are all 3 takes filmed of the sequence. So I'm sure you've seen the video by now. If you haven't, I've posted it to my page. You know, their bodies are acting, but they're not speaking in the character of Lily and Ryle, right? They know that they're being filmed. Justin is kind of popping in and out of character and director, you know, because he's still directing the scene. And we see Blake talking about her and Ryan's relationship. We see Justin talk about his wife. We see the nose job joke. We see him say, am I getting beard on you? And she says, I'm probably getting spray tan on you. He says, it smells good. And she's like, well, that's not it. It's my body makeup, right? We see all that. Now, I know everybody has their own interpretation of what that scene represents. But this is what the lawsuit says. This is what Blake Lively's lawsuit says about this scene that we have now all seen. It says at one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, it smells so good. None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Miss Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Miss Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, I'm not even attracted to you. So Baldoni's filing earlier this month against Lively and Ryan Reynolds and the publicist, Leslie Sloan, also talks about this scene, but this is how he describes it. Lively apologized for the smell of her spray tan and body makeup. Baldoni responded, it smells good, and continued acting, slow dancing as he believed his character would with his partner, which requires some amount of physical touching, the filing read. Based on the description, okay, of the scene in both lawsuits, in my opinion, the description that best fits what I watched with my own 2 eyes was Justin's description. This, in Blake Lively's lawsuit, when it says, dragged his lips from her ear down to her neck and said, it smells so good. It gives, it smells so good. It gives creepy, and we all saw it. That was not it. He said, am I getting beard on you? She laughed. She said, oh no, I'm probably getting spray tan on you. He says, smells good. It was wild. So then there's this argument that they weren't in character, that there didn't need to be any talking because it was a slow-mo scene, it was a montage, and it was going to be just audio of music, right? Well, in the deleted scenes, you see Blake Lively say, we should be talking, right? It's a little bit more romantic. Don't kiss me, she did say. She said, don't kiss me, like almost kiss, because it gives the audience what they want. So during this time, they are talking about things that are personal to them. Like I said, right? They're talking about Ryan Reynolds. They're talking about Justin's wife. They're talking about Justin's nose. They're talking about Blake's spray tan. obviously, the dialogue has nothing to do with the character of Lily and Ryle. However, their body language was supposed to be in character. So, the whole thing was awkward, right? It was very awkward. But as I'm sitting there watching it, like, okay, I know that this is not the same at all, but I remember like practicing my first dance with David or even doing it on our wedding day. We're not acting, okay? Like I know that this is not a comparison. I'm just snowballing here. But when you're like up close and personal with someone and it's like supposed to be a loving moment, sometimes you do just start like talking, because it's awkward. And I feel like we all watched that scene and was like, okay, this is awkward. And if they have to gazingly stare into each other's eyes, even if they are acting, it's a little awkward. So let's make it a little less awkward by, talking to each other while we do it. The thing to me that was pretty obvious is that when Justin yells cut, the demeanor of the scene changes drastically, right? He says, cut. He steps away from her. He's like, all right, I think we got it. We're good. We got 17 minutes worth of stuff, blah, 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 blah. So to me, it's like pretty clear that there was like an on and off switch with him on where he was acting or not acting. What I struggle with, and I'm sure what a lot of people, women, struggle with is, for the people that have been in that situation and you've been uncomfortable, and there's all these people, maybe not all these people, because nothing is like to the level of this. And I know this is like a mini deep dive anyways, I'm sorry. We've been in situations where someone that we did not want to touch us has touched us. And we feel uncomfortable and we get the heebie-jeebies and we get the chills and we don't say anything. We don't. Because we don't want to make it more awkward and we don't want to, be that person or whatever. So that feeling of knowing what that feels like sits with me, and it's hard for me to, and you guys know I'm always like this, but it's hard for me to be like team Justin or team Blake because I can't take away the way that somebody felt. The question I guess I have is like, is it a misunderstanding in communication or is it sexual harassment? And I think depending on who you ask, you would get a different answer, right? So I don't know. It's just the thing too is that his lawyers are being very convincing. And that's the job of a lawyer, right? But they also have been very public. We have nothing to hide. We will release all the facts. They're talking about starting a website to post all this evidence. I'm like, okay, too much. Like, that's too much. Blake Lively's team comes out and criticizes Justin's team for releasing the footage, saying it's another unethical attempt to manipulate the public. And then he wants to make a website. So I'm like, okay, it does kind of seem like the playbook is to release things to the public and let them make their own assumptions about it. Now, people have been saying, well, that's not fair because Blake Lively was the first one to go to the New York Times and make it public that way. So it's just tit for tat. You can do this, but I can't do that. I can do this, but you can't do that. It's too much. Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni is such a great case study of human perception because the way one person perceives a situation can be totally different from the way another person perceives a situation. The question is, do they really believe what they are portraying or are they trying to save face? We don't really know the answer to that question, right? But I think after watching this unedited video of Justin and Blake, for however divided we are on this topic, we can all agree we ain't dating no actors because it was the most uncomfortable thing to watch when their hands are like slowly intertwining and it's like they're swaying back and forth. I'm like, I'm interrupting on something here and I don't want to be watching this. I'm watching it through my fingers. It's not for the faint of heart. Like if you're married to an actor, God bless you. And maybe that's why Ryan Reynolds was on the set because I was like, I'm interrupting something here. And I think I should go. right? And that's just what's happened by Wednesday this week while I'm recording this episode. So who's to say that it won't change by the next time we speak to each other? Yeah. Let's talk about Love is Blind's Tyler and Ashley splitting. We all remember Tyler and Ashley met on season 7, got married on the show. Well, it came out this week that they were getting divorced. Ashley did a People exclusive where she says, after much reflection, I want to share that Tyler and I have been separated for several weeks and have now made the difficult decision to end our marriage. While I had hoped for mutual understanding and transparency in our relationship, it has become clear that our paths are no longer aligned, making it impossible for me to continue in this marriage. I don't need to say it. We're all thinking the same thing. I don't need to say it. Okay, we remember they were engulfed in a bit of a scandal. They were engulfed in a big scandal. Tyler on the show had informed Ashley that he had acted as a sperm donor for one of his friends, resulting in 3 biological children, and he claimed to have no relationship with them. However, it later emerged that Tyler was more involved in his children's life than he had disclosed. Photos of them spending Christmas morning together, contradicting his statements. The baby mama came out and said, he was a sperm donor for one of my children, but not the other 2 that were conceived naturally, right? It was this huge thing. Well, at the season 7 reunion, Tyler admitted to misleading both Ashley and the public about his involvement with the children, stating that he did so to protect their privacy. He explained that he had helped a family and her wife start a family and had stepped in to care for the children after his friend's wife had left. At the time, Ashley was standing by her man. She says, "Who do you think knows more about my relationship, me or the internet?" And everybody was kind of rolling their eyes and whatever. You can feel about that any way that you want. This might be a hot take, but was I annoyed with Tyler and Ashley, during the season and especially at the reunion? Yes, but I also don't blame Ashley for the way that she reacted to things. We all were like, girl, come on. But as a wife, she stood by her man publicly. We don't know what was going on behind the scenes. We don't know, behind closed doors if they were hashing things out more than we know. But I mean, at the end of the day, in your vow says for better or for worse. And she was standing by her husband's side, defending him. I don't really feel bad for anybody in the situation. I don't feel bad for Ashley. I don't feel bad for Tyler. But, I do feel like if I were Ashley in that moment, I would probably also defend the person that I was married to. Even if I knew behind the scenes that things were different. Nobody's surprised, right? How can we be surprised about this? But, oh gosh, I'm just you guys. Who would have thought that Lydia and Milton, do you guys remember from the worst season of Love is Blind ever? Lydia and Milton would be going strong, happily ever after, happy as a clam, living their best life married. Oh, man. A new season comes out on February 14th. Exactly what we want to watch on Valentine's Day, right? Where love goes to die. Love is Blind. That's what we're going to be doing. All right. Last but certainly not least, in the pop 3 this week was Justin Bieber hacked. Well, that's what he says. He claims he was hacked after some recent Instagram activity. It appeared to unfollow his wife, Hailey Bieber. Everybody was all up in arms because they've been at the center of some attention lately. So he posted on his Instagram story, "Someone went on my account and unfollowed my wife. It's getting sus around here," is what he said, right? He quickly refollowed Hailey. And then earlier this week, he was posting photos of her, calling her the greatest woman I have and will ever know. Of course, we know they've been married since 2018. They just recently had a baby, Jack Blues Bieber, in August. What's with the hacks, honestly? What's with the hacks? It's 2025. You would think that a A-list celebrity would like have a steel trap when it comes to an Instagram password, but apparently the hackers are just above us these days. I was immediately reminded of Tina Knowles, who also claimed she was hacked when she was liking, TMZ articles about Jay-Z's alleged connection to Diddy. And now we have Justin Bieber saying I was hacked and they unfollowed my wife. I'm just like, what hacker is going to hack into Justin Bieber's Instagram account and only unfollow Hailey Bieber? Like that was the big mischievous plan. I'm going to hack into Justin Bieber's Instagram account and unfollow Hailey. It probably was Selena Gomez fans. Like, let's be 100% honest. You guys know they're still riding hard for Selena and Justin, even though we're like 15 years removed at this point. And, this also, people are looking at this kind of sus, as Justin Bieber would say, because they had that little Instagram tiff a couple weeks back. I talked about it a lot in the Pop Culture Patreon. If you're not subscribed, the Love You Like Assist tier, patreon.com/MorgansPopTalks. They were going back and forth on their Instagram story, seemingly taking jabs, right? And people were like, what is happening? But they quickly, I don't know, Justin posted a photo of Hailey in like lingerie and was like, we're all good here. And we're like, yeah, okay. People also think that it's a ruse because Justin Bieber is going to be dropping new music soon. I'm like, Justin Bieber doesn't have to ruse anybody. He is one of the biggest names in Hollywood. He hasn't released new music in a long time. I feel like it would be a huge pop culture moment with or without the Hailey unfollow. So I'm really hoping that it's not a media tactic because in my opinion, it's kind of tacky, especially like if I'm Hailey, I'm pissed. If I'm Hailey and this is a media tactic to get people to talk about you for your new music, I'm like, so I always have to be the collateral damage and I have to be the one, whatever. But I'm also not a multi-millionaire. And I feel like at some point in your, millionaire journey, you get to a point where you don't care about nothing but the coin. Like you're so rich that you don't care what people say about you. You don't care about the speculation surrounding your marriage because you're going to get $1 million at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think it's silly. Let's get into the deep dive. Also, a little bit silly, Matt James. Matt James, what? Ooh. Another short circuit moment from the week. Matt James announcing his split with Rachel Kirkconnell after 4 years together. We've been on a roller coaster with this, haven't we? Up, down, sideways, loop-de-loops, almost fell out of the car, lap bar came undone, and we're like strapping ourselves back in to see what's going to happen next. Matt James comes out with this post last week, and it always happens on a Thursday. It always happens on an MPT drop day and not a recording day, and I'm like, wow, really rude. So Matt James posts this photo. The photo is of when him and Rachel met on his season of The Bachelor. The caption says, Father God, give Rachel and I strength to mend our broken hearts. Give us peace about this decision to end our relationship that transcends worldly understanding. Shower our friends and family with kindness and love to comfort us. And remind us that our joy comes from you, Lord, with a broken heart. He tagged Nima Colin. People was like, he's been hacked, Matt James added to the list. Tina Knowles, Justin Bieber, Matt James, hashtag hacked. And I'm like, he's not been hacked. First of all, people are like, this post is weird. It is. I don't think the caption of it is weird because it's very Matt James. Like Matt James is a spiritual person. He's a religious person. We know this about him. That's not a surprise to me. What's weird to me is the picture choice and the tagging of Nima Colin and Rachel. That's what's kind of odd to me, right? And everybody can agree. And that's why people were thinking that he was hacked. But if he were to have been hacked, he would have gone on any other social media platform. He would have gone to a People magazine, He would have gone anywhere to say, I've been hacked. This is not true. A la Justin Bieber on his Instagram stories. Rachel would have come out and said something. Her Instagram had been hacked, right? But there was silence, which to me said everything that we needed to know. People are also talking about the post before. So 15 hours before he posts this breakup, he's posting them frolicking along the Thames River in London, trying out different matcha lattes, trying out different pizzas, not only in the feed, but in the Instagram story. And people are like, well, this is weird, right? So there was two options. Option A was that people were like, this is a content dump. He recorded this a long time ago and it was scheduled and he just posted that in real time. There was the other camp that's like, no, they were together, literally had to have gotten in a fight that night. And then he wakes up the next morning and posts it bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 6 a.m. Can we just keep it 100 and say that both options are weird? It's odd behavior, both options. If you're going to schedule all this content, if you had broken up actually weeks ago and you're going to schedule all this content and people were like, well, maybe they were advertisements. You have to disclose if something is an advertisement. If it doesn't say hashtag ad in the caption, it's technically against FTC regulations. Now, they could be doing some under the table deals here, underneath the pizza table deals, but I just don't think that they would. Somebody like Matt James with 1 million followers has to be a little bit careful about that. You have to have a paid partnership toggle. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing to post sponsored content on any social media site. So what it was giving was that they were together while he was posting this, and we're kind of learning that now based on Rachel's sister, Trinity, responding to some things on TikTok, which I'll get to. But it seemed like they were together when he was posting the matcha latte reviews, and then 15 hours later, they were broken up. So everyone's like, what is this timeline? Well, like I said, Trinity is Rachel's sister, and she's been in the comments section. Rachel has also been liking some comments that's giving, a little bit of a glimmer of where her headspace was. There was one in particular that she liked that said, I feel like Rachel was blindsided by this. Let's give her grace. Now, that's open to interpretation. Was she blindsided by the breakup itself or the post? People are saying it's more about the post, that they had been maybe having some issues. But Trinity said in a TikTok, long story short, that they had been broken up for 3 hours before Matt James posted the breakup announcement. And then she also said, yeah, so they were still together when he was just posting all that, the matcha latte reviews, just to give some perspective on the timeline of things. So, it just feels weird. It feels like odd behavior. It feels kind of like attention-seeking behavior. A little bit of it feels vindictive. There's a theory out there that potentially maybe Rachel was like, why are we not engaged yet? We've been dating for 4 years. Like, if you don't get it together, we're going to end this relationship. And maybe she broke up with him, and out of spite, he posted that, right? Which the theory would make sense. Don't know if that's true or not. But like, if you break up with somebody and your first reaction 3 hours later is to post about it on social media, no, do not go back. Do not. There's, like I said, that speculation that it has to do with wanting to settle down or not. Matt maybe not wanting to or having commitment issues and Rachel wanting to. And it's like men, right? Not all men, but like men like this, where you live with your girlfriend for however many years, you've been together for 4 years, you do everything together, you go everywhere together, you have joint business ventures, like you are married without the legally binding contract. You mean to tell, like when you get married and you sign the paper, nothing about your relationship changes other than the fact that you have made a commitment to be together for the rest of your life. Like, it's not like you get married and all of a sudden, the weight of the world is on your shoulders, especially if you're living together and doing everything together. Literally nothing would have changed in the dynamic of their relationship besides maybe pressure, maybe like public pressure on things like having kids and whatever. But even the night before, Matt James was in the comment section on TikTok, talking about trying wedding food and whatever. And like, if I'm Rachel and you're leaving comments like that, but you're not actually proposing to me, bye. See you later. Sayonara. Best of luck with that pepperoni pizza slice. Who's going to film it for you? Not me. You better think again. So I don't know. This one really did surprise me because they had overcome so much. Even when you think back to when they got together. They started their relationship on rocky ground, a big scandal that engulfed Matt and Rachel's relationship when photos of Rachel came out, in 2018 of her at an old antebellum party during the final rose. It was very tense. That was in March of 2021. Matt James revealed that he decided to end his relationship with her due to the controversy surrounding those past actions. I had this opinion then. I certainly still have it now. I really don't think that Matt James wanted to break up with Rachel in that particular moment. They got back together a month later, right? But there was a lot of public pressure. There was a lot of public pressure on Matt James. He was the first Black Bachelor. That alone, in itself, is a lot of pressure. And then you add this type of scandal on top of it. I feel like he felt like he had no other option, right? There's no winning in that situation. And also, I don't think that anybody is defined by their past mistakes. So let that be clear. I think the fact that they were able to prioritize each other in their relationship and get through such a huge incident, right? I thought it spoke a lot to their strength as a couple. But unfortunately, 4 years later, here we are. I'm shifting gears a little bit because I made this post about shipping the potential of Craig Conover and Rachel Kirkconnell. Most people shipped it. Some people were mad. I mean, it's the internet. I know I'm never going to make everybody happy, but is it too soon? I mean, it depends. Look at Ariana Madix. She was off and ready to go in 3 weeks after her breakup from Tom Sandoval. So we don't really know what went on in the relationships of Craig and Paige and Rachel and Matt, if they have been emotionally withdrawn from the relationship for however long, or if they do really need some time. I mean, people are also just a little bit dramatic. They're like, let them heal. It's been 5 seconds. Is my 60-second video saying, oh, these two people would look cute together, keeping anybody from their healing journey? I don't think so. It's meant to be a compliment. They would look cute together. They have similar values. It seems like they want the same things in life. Rachel is from Georgia. I think she owns a house there. So, seemingly they both want to settle down. They both understand what it's like to be in the public eye. Someone said Rachel looks like if Paige and Naomi had a baby, and that's also accurate, So I'm just putting the vibes out there. No one's saying that it needs to be right now on January 23rd at 2:07 p.m. It doesn't need to be anytime soon. But I think that they would be a cute couple someday down the road if and when they ever are ready to do so. Sue me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Start a website of all the evidence against me wanting to ship this reality TV showmance? Do it. Whew, okay. The cold. The cold is starting to get to me a little bit. She's a little feisty, which brings us to final thoughts. Let's talk about the Real Housewives of New York and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'll talk about Beverly Hills first because I don't have too much to say. I say that. But, Kyle is at the center of all this drama, specifically around PK and Dorit. She's in the middle of this divorce relationship or whatever. Kyle has been defending the fact that she texts PK, but it's just memes and jokes. But then she reads the text message. It's a screenshot of the text message saying, I know you have other friends, but I'm also your friend. I'm also here for you. I will never repeat anything you say to me, right? And this whole entire season, she's been trying to say things to make herself not look bad, but in hindsight, she's just made herself look worse and kind of digging a deeper hole because now we know that it wasn't just memes and jokes. And she says, if you tell me something, I will never repeat it. And what does that mean? Does that mean she won't repeat it on the show in front of production, in front of the other women? Or does it mean that she won't repeat it to Dorit? I think she probably meant both. And I've said, I can't remember if I said it on this or the Bravo Patreon, but another Patreon plug, Bravo Fridays, patreon.com/MorgansPopTalks. They're adults. I feel like if you have been friends with a couple for 10 years and they split up, you should be able to have somewhat of a relationship with each respective person, right? But I do think that it's different when you say things like, you can tell me anything and I won't say anything, because it insinuates that you're talking about one of them. So where does your allegiance greater lie? Is it with Dorit or is it with PK? And that's the issue, right? That's the problem. And Dorit's like, I'm the last to know. I'm the last to know about this text message. Everybody else has heard it at this point. Why is that the case? Kyle Richards storms out this past episode. So dramatic. Like, girl, you know, you've been here long enough. I just think it's kind of silly. But then we get to the Real Housewives of New York. And this is your trigger warning, because this episode was extremely dark, extremely triggering. If you know, you know. I am going to explain it. It does talk about rape. So like I had said, there is a trigger warning there. But this week was like, it just told me everything I needed to know. I have already had these feelings about New York this season. I stopped watching it because I'm of the opinion that even though I'm a pop culture commentator, I don't have to pretend to like anything. And if I don't like a season of a Bravo show, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I do. I have not liked this season of The Real Housewives of New York. Brynn and Uba have been screaming at each other for 3 episodes straight. It's like too much. And then it gets to this boiling point where Uba insinuates that Brynn may have engaged in an inappropriate relationship to secure her spot on the show. Brynn says, Uba is sitting here calling me a whore while Uba knows that I was raped, is what Brynn says. Says this on camera, right? Cameras go down. All the ladies are like appalled. I can't believe Uba would say something like that, knowing that about Brynn. Cameras go down, and then Jessel goes into the room and tells Uba, hey, I just want you to know that Brynn said that she told you about a sexual assault against her. And Uba loses it. I mean, she's sobbing. The women are talking. There's not a whole lot of camera footage. It's like the cameras that are on the property. So the women are saying she's in a corner, shaking, crying. She's like, Uba said I was in the middle of like having a serious mental breakdown, and it really causes a huge rift between the two of them. And she's like, I did not know that. I would never say anything like that had I known that. And then Brynn starts to tell this story about how, she was on the phone to Uba. She was kind of like just spilling out, why do all of these things happen to me? XYZ. She says she talked about that particular moment. Then the women say, Brynn comes back into the room and she says, well, now that I think about it, Uba might not have clocked it, which totally changes the situation, right? First and foremost, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was said on the phone or what wasn't said on the phone, but if your friend is coming to you and they're sobbing on the phone and they say something like that, I don't know how you don't. I don't, even if there was a lot of other stuff to come up, I don't understand how that moment would slip your mind. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying I find it a little bit hard to believe. So now everybody's wondering, like, they're not questioning whether or not it happened to Brynn because they're believing her, which I think is the right thing to do. But they're questioning whether or not she even said it to Uba, or, if Uba didn't clock it for Brynn's words. The aftermath of this, nobody's really talking to each other. Jenna was on Watch What Happens Live. She said, during the reunion taping, the cast had not been in contact with Brynn. It's been a significant strain on their relationships. At the end, Brynn is very upset. They're at the title shoot, which was interesting to see. I will say that. Like, seeing them film their intros, I thought was an interesting thing to see. But, Brynn is really concerned about herself at that title shoot as well. Nobody's checking on me. Nobody's doing anything to me, whatever. I heard this phrase one time, and it really has not ever left my mind. And it's kind of shaped the way that I look at situations. It's not why did this person do this? It's what happened to this person to make them like this, So sometimes I have a hard time like really being critical of anyone, but I think that, we're all in agreement that this was just not okay. And to me, it's like Bravo has been so desperate to make this version of the Real Housewives of New York work, and it hasn't. And I've seen discourse online of whether or not this episode should have aired at all. I'm not surprised. It really brings me back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the situation between Portia and Candy, where we were also, and Phaedra, and we were also saying these things like, why is this being aired on national television? I think, they will make TV no matter what the cost. That's up to you to decide if it's a moral dilemma or not. But like the only thing this episode made me do was solidify my feelings that it shouldn't continue like this. I don't see how it can, right? Like, because the fractures in the group are too strong. But I feel like if this is what you have to resort to get people to talk about like anything about your show, to get any kind of traction, I don't want to be invested in a show like that. Okay? Drop the mic. That's all I have to say about that. So leave me a review, okay? A little review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis. If you have not already, join the Patreon. We're hanging out pretty much every single day. Bachelor Tuesday, Pop Culture Extra on Thursday, Bravo Friday. Hey, The Bachelor's starting next week. I will be recapping the episode, so make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. Morgan's Pop Talks. Nope, it's patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. I gotta go because the cold is freezing my brain. And I also had to blow my nose because I've been congested for 5 straight months. Okay? I love you like a sis. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you later.